Imagine little Fluffy approaches the rug and squats down into a spot right about here. Let's imagine that Fluffy is a 5-pound or maybe a 10-pound puppy, and Fluffy hasn't had a chance to get her bladder under control yet. In due time she will, but for right now she finds a spot that's comfortable, she nails it. It starts off as a dime size. You can see that little dimple there is about the size of a dime around my finger. As the liquid, urine, or any liquid for that matter, goes through the primary backing into the secondary backing, it'll spread out. So what starts off as a dime size, depending on the amount of liquid, will often turn into 4, 5, sometimes 10 times the size of that little spot on the top. Of course, the larger the spot and the more liquid from the top, the bigger the stain underneath the carpeting as well. And that's important to note, because what will happen when you try to clean this, sometimes you'll clean this part, and when it dries, you'll see a ring. And that what has happened is that liquid back here of the spill has wicked up to the top of the surface. Carpet always dries from the bottom up, because we have evaporation from the top side of the carpeting. So that water went down this way and is trying to dry this way. When that liquid comes up, it'll carry soils with it to the surface. And if you were to take the fibers that were soiled on top and look at them closely, now this one's not dirty at all, you'd notice that maybe the top third of the fibers, let's say that this is one of the fibers that's in there, you will notice that maybe the top third of the fibers are soiled and the bottom 2/3 look fine. That means it's wicked. How you take care of this is to get on your spills immediately. You should always have a set of towels, specifically white terry towels that you don't use in your kitchen or bathroom, of course, dedicated only to spot cleaning. You take a white terry towel. It's important to use white, because if you use something with color, it could transfer the dye from that towel onto the carpet, and now you have another problem. So you don't want to pick anything but white. Take your white terry towel and simply blot it up. We're going to try to limit the penetration of the liquid to the backing. We want to get that pulled up as fast as we can. If the spot is still, well, after a while that spot you won't have any more transfer onto the towel. At that point, depending on what it is, if that spill is urine or if that spill is coffee or tea or wine or some other type of spill, there's different ways to treat those. One way that you could try, first of all, is to use our Rendell certified carpet spot remover, which is actually made specifically for modern synthetic carpeting like this. It'll work on anything like coffee spills, wine, urine, tea, mustard. It works on pretty much any water-based type of spill. And what that does is it makes not only does it make the fiber wetter than the water itself to help wick the rest of that soil up, it also has a modern detergent in it which will help lubricate the fibers to get the soil out. It's best to give us a call after it's dry if the spot is still there, so we can further go through the steps with you. But just know that if you never want to over wet the carpeting with any product, an over-the-counter product or our product, because what will happen is you'll get this condition called delamination. What happens is that secondary backing will eventually separate from the primary backing will eventually separate from the secondary backing, because this latex will start to crumble when it gets wet for a long period of time. Also, if you use a oil-based remover or something like WD-40, that will also compromise this backing. It becomes really loose, soft, rubbery, and it'll start to do this. When that happens, as I showed before, the fiber bundles just start popping out. And this is a pretty new carpeting, so this, even though that it's separated here, this still has a lot of latex in it. But over time, if we were to walk on this carpeting, this would loosen up. You can see that the more it's walked on and the more it's used, the more crumbly it gets. And when that happens, these bundles start popping out. So blot it Always blot it, never rub. Use our product or just water on a towel to kind of blot it up. You don't want to use too much to get this primary backing over wet that will cause it to separate. And if the spot is still there, give us a call, 810-225-2184, and we'll be glad to help you out.